Greetings, Akwaba, welcome. Thank you for joining us today for Habaragani. What's the word? What day in Kwanzaa are we here together spending our time together with today? Kuumba. Today we are embodying our creativity, but we're also connecting to all the principles of Kwanzaa today. And with that, I'm going to introduce myself and get started with my presentation. My name is Keachia Bowers. I am a clinical social worker. I am a mother of 3. I am a community member. I am an African dancer. I am a Reiki teacher, master teacher. I am a human being, and I am excited to share with you all today how we are going from stress to ease, how we are going to move from survival into thriving individually, as a family, and as a larger community. So when I was asked to come today and share with you all, I really thought deeply about how I'm going to connect mental wellness, emotional healing, and Kwanzaa. So I'm going to invite you all to join me on a journey today. To get our moment started, I ask for you to think about the importance of Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa was created to celebrate the beauty of African heritage that lives in Black families and culture in the United States of America. It was created to help us learn the power. The word Kwanzaa means first harvest, first fruit, the first thing that you bear in your crop from the seed that you planted. That is what Kwanzaa is. And we are going to embody the power of planting our seeds. So I'm going to invite you today to think about the parts of yourself that you may have tucked away, that you may have hidden, the parts of yourself that you struggle with seeing because it feels unbearable, it feels painful. We are going to plant the seeds of healing into the ground during this time. We're going to plant the seeds of wellness. We're going to plant the seeds of growth, of development, of creativity, of faith, of all the days of Kwanzaa. And so I am talking to you all today about the wounded part of ourselves, the parts of ourselves that we do bury and we tuck away and we don't like to face. Sometimes they show up physically in our headaches, pains in the body. Sometimes they show up mentally in how we're triggered and how we react. Sometimes they show up when, someone says something that we don't like and we don't know how to respond because we feel angry and we haven't learned to deal with our anger. Today, we're going to dive deep into this part of ourselves. So I'm going to reintroduce myself. My name is Sister Keachia. Everyone in the community calls me Sister Keachia. I am a mental wellness advocate, a social worker, a therapist, and I teach transformations. I teach how we can go from pain to purpose, from stress to ease, and from survival to thriving. So I'm going to ask you all for your patience today because I have my handy dandy notes that's guiding much of my conversation and much of the activities that I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to take you on a journey through many activities. So are you ready for me? Yes? Well, I'm ready. I'm excited to be here. So you know who I am. You know what I'm about. Now we're going to talk about the part of you that we know is hidden away, but we're planting seeds of healing and wellness. We're going to call that part of ourselves today the inner child. That part of ourselves that is unresolved, that didn't get a chance to grow up for many, many reasons. The inner child is the part of you that carries the pain and emotional trauma from your childhood. And I know in particular in Black community, this is taboo for us to admit that something might have gone wrong or that we may have learned a negative way of existing. through our childhood experiences. It's really, really difficult for us to say, maybe we developed something from the people who raised us, from what we saw in our communities. Maybe there was something that hurt. But we know collectively, as a group of people, that we faced collective oppression, right? Much of that has been planted in our homes. So we've faced emotional abuse. We have faced physical abuse. We've faced being ridiculed and criticized by family members. We have faced sexual trauma. We don't have to hide about it anymore because we are moving into our wellness. So there are many signs that we have that we sometimes ignore, and I'm going to highlight those for you today. Okay? When we're in autopilot and we're just living our lives, we became 18, we became adults, and we moved into just living our lives, we never paid attention to these parts of existing. We never paid attention to the parts of ourselves that are probably unresolved because we're on autopilot. But the signs that there is a wounded part of ourselves, that's our inner child, is if you were not able to express yourself when you were a child, if you grew in an environment where children were to be seen and not heard, how many of us have heard that often enough? Children should be seen and not heard, right? That sends a message to repress, to stuff away, to push down. And that could create a wounded inner child. If you had to hide parts of yourself to be loved or accepted, if who you naturally were as a child was not accepted, sometimes this is related to our sexuality too. Sometimes it's just related to how, if you were a talkative child, did they tell you to shut up all the time? Think about these aspects of your life because feelings buried alive never die. Think about those parts of yourself that never had a chance to grow and resolve, right? If you had to walk on eggshells for a parent or a caretaker, then you definitely have a wounded part. Walking on eggshells creates anxiety. It creates a sense of, I don't know when I'm going to be in trouble. I don't know what's going to happen next. And sometimes we experience walking on eggshells when we're dealing with alcoholism, addiction, drug addiction in our family dynamics, okay? So if you were often ridiculed or criticized, did you ever feel like you were the one to get blamed? Did you often feel like you were the bad child in your childhood? If you did, then you have a part of yourself that may be wounded and you don't even realize it. So I have a magical question for you today that's going to help us proceed and go on. And I would like for you to think very deeply, but not too deep, because the first age that comes to mind, I would like for you to identify that age. How old were you when you needed the most love? How old were you when you needed the most love in your childhood? What age was that? Think about this part of yourself and let's visit that age. So that's going to lead me into the next part of my presentation. I would like for you to get relaxed for this part of the discussion. I would like for you to remove your shoulders from your ears. Get grounded if you're seated in a chair. Allow your feet to touch the ground. Take a few deep breaths, breathing through your nose and out your mouth. And I'm going to just invite you to connect with the part of yourself, this age that you identified, the age when you needed the most love, the most care, the most attention. And I'm going to do a visualization for us today. Imagine right now sitting down in a rocking chair and getting very comfortable. Feel yourself rocking easily back and forth. And as you continue rocking, you might find yourself starting to drift, drifting more and more. Rocking back and forth, you might find yourself just going back into time, connecting with this inner child, with this child who needed the most love. Slowly, imagine yourself getting younger and younger. The years are going by, going back into the early 2000s, the late 1990s, however far back, if you're going back into the 1980s, whatever age it was, you're going back. And right now, you are very young. You're imagining now that you can see the little child that you were a long time ago. Very soon, you can see this child right in front of you. What does this child look like? What is this child wearing? About how old is this child? Can you see where this child is? Indoors or outdoors? Can you see what this child is doing? Maybe you can see this little child's face right now in this moment. And if you look carefully, you can see the expression in your little child's eyes. Can you tell how this little child is feeling right now? As you look at this child, can you recall anything that was missing in this child's life? Is there anything that kept this child from being fully happy? If there was anyone or anything that got in the way of this child being completely happy and carefree, perhaps you can imagine seeing this person or this situation right now before you. If no one is there yet, maybe you can imagine your dad or your mom or whoever you would like standing in front of you right now. What does your child feel towards your dad, your mom, or whoever is right there? Is there anything that your child would like to say to this person right now? If so, it's okay to go ahead and say it this very moment. You can go ahead and just say what it is that you never had a chance to say. If your little child is feeling afraid or confused about saying anything, imagine that your present day adult self enters the scene right this moment and goes up and stands next to your little child. When you're ready, imagine your adult self saying exactly, speaking up on the behalf of your little child. Your adult self can say whatever it wants to say, exactly what never got expressed. Tell your parent or whoever is there whatever you need to say, whatever it was. And if you want to, you can complete the sentence. How do you think it makes me feel that? Or you can even say, I wish you had. Tell your parent or whoever is there anything you wish they had done, but they didn't do. And when you speak up, make sure you speak loud and clear so that you can be sure that whoever is there really hears you. Does whoever is standing there have a response? Listen and see if there is a response. And when you're finished speaking, you can ask them to go away. You can ask this person or this situation to leave you alone. Or you can decide to give them a hug. You have the power in this very moment to do whatever it is that you want to do. And you cannot get punished. Now go back and see your present day adult self standing next to your little child. And if you're willing to, pick that little child up in your arms this very second and love this child. Wrap your arms around this child and tell this child that it's okay. Tell this child that you know how they feel, that you understand, that you're here, and you're going to help this child and love them very much. If you could give a color to the love that you feel, what color comes to mind? Surround your little child with the light of this color and let your child feel the peace of being in your arms. Tell this child that you love the way this child walks and talks and laughs, how this child does everything. Tell this child that you believe they are great. Tell them that you care, that they're precious, and anything that you feel this child needed to hear at this stage of life when they needed the most love. And when you're ready, you can wiggle your toes and your fingers and return to this space. Oh, take a deep breath. I have something powerful to share with you. You can do this at any time that you need to in your life. You can revisit your little child, because the key to healing is all about connecting with this part of yourself. And we call it reparenting, learning to give to yourself what you didn't get. You don't have to be stuck in the pain of the past, because as long as you resolve that pain, you can create a new future and a new beginning. Now, did you see your little child when we did the visualization? Who did your little child speak to? How did your little child feel after being surrounded by your own love? How did you feel giving that love to your child? Now, I would like for you to think of the things that trigger you today. What gets you really angry? What gets you frustrated? If you're frustrated, the root emotion is anger. What moves you to chew the sides of your mouth or to bite your nails? Think of those triggers and reconnect with the little child that you saw today. Can you see how your triggers are connected to a part of yourself that was unresolved? If you were called names, if you were criticized or ridiculed, now you're an adult and you work in an environment with a boss that criticizes constantly, points out all your flaws. If you're not connected to the emotion of the anger and you're stuffing it down, the next day you'll be sad, depressed, unhappy, and you won't know why. Or you may have an attachment to food, gossip, alcohol, something that is easing the pain, and it's destroying you at the same time. Today, we are moving into a new beginning. We're planting seeds of wellness during this harvest, right? Your next crop will be you're bearing fruit of your own wellness and your own healing. And so I would like to share with you from this book, and I have other books that I'm going to be referring you all to, but this book by Melody Beattie, it's called Journey to the Heart. And she explains how we have to forgive our inner child for being so afraid. No matter how much work we've done on ourselves, no matter how committed we are to healing, there may be a part of us that's 4 years old when we deal with certain people. There may be a part of us that still feels frozen, frightened, powerless, and abandoned when we face certain situations. We may be all dressed up, look grown up, have our professional hat on, but the person wearing it is 4 years old and scared, afraid to speak up, relax, and be who we are. A powerful, sensitive, creative, competent, intelligent, wise adult. Watch for these 4-year-olds. Be gentle, kind, compassionate. Forgive them for being so frightened. They have reasons that are valid, understandable, and sometimes noble. But their reasons come from a long time ago. And this is now. We're grown now. We're strong. We're free. We can walk away, speak up, laugh, say how we feel, and we can't be abandoned anymore because we know how to live on our own. Watch for your 4-year-old. This child may never completely leave you, but you don't have to let this child continue to run this show. You have the right to move into your space of thriving. When we're in survival mode, that inner child is showing up. Reactive, defensive, angry, blaming others, never wanting to take responsibility, disconnected from your own feelings, incapable of expressing those feelings in fear of being abandoned. You don't have to be so afraid any longer. So 2022 is coming, and as you all know, Kwanzaa leads us. The very last day of Kwanzaa is Imani, which means faith, January 1st. We're committing to having faith in our wellness journey, in having faith that all we have to do is start. All we need is a new beginning. So this new beginning begins with recognizing your own wounds. Whatever it was that you said in the visualization to the person, the parent, the adult, the situation, whatever it was that you addressed, that you confronted, it is connected to the wounds that you still carry today. So let's talk about 4 different types of wounds that we have that comes from our past that we carry into our adult lives. The first wound is the boundary wound. We have weak boundaries. We believe sometimes that getting close means having poor boundaries. I don't know where you start and I end, or I end and you begin, right? So do you struggle with saying no? Do you have a hard time with saying no because you feel over obligated? Do you have a hard time with letting people down, but then neglecting yourself? If you do, I want you to write that down. That's one of your wounds that you're going to be healing. Okay? This comes from the past. If you struggle with speaking your truth, I'm going to tell you right now, this means that you're a people pleaser. And so we're walking away from this wound, right? We're acknowledging it and giving it a name. So this is a weak boundary wound. So I want you to make note of that. The second wound that we're acknowledging today. So these 4 wounds are the ones that keep us in the past, in the pain of the past. So the second one that I'm going to acknowledge today is the guilt wound. Now, I always say you have guilt throwers and then you have guilt catchers. You don't want to be a guilt catcher. If you're a guilt catcher, that means you had a guilt thrower in your life. If you find yourself saying a lot of the times, oh, I feel bad, or I'm sorry. If something good is happening in your life, you might feel a sense of guilt. Or this one is very familiar. I hear it often. We feel afraid that something bad is going to happen to take it away from us. We feel afraid to lose that joy. Okay? Write down your guilt wound if this applies to you. And you could very well have all 4 wounds in your life. It is okay. We are calling them out today because we're moving into healing. The second wound that I'm going to talk about, the third wound rather, is codependency. So codependency is having a strong need to be needed and believing that you can only love yourself to the extent that others love you. No, our wellness story tells us that we have to love ourselves first before we can give to others, because it's an inside out job. Okay? So if you fear being alone and you constantly need to be attached to others to fill that void, and you may do that by always giving and neglecting yourself, we're going to identify it so that we can work through it. And then the fourth wound is the self-worth wound. I just don't feel like I'm enough. I don't feel worthy. I don't feel good enough. If you struggle with a sense of knowing who you are, beyond who you've been told, forget about the names you've been called. Forget about the things you've been told about yourself. It is time for you to create a new beginning. And the only way you can do that is by letting go of the past. So we've identified some of what may be holding you back. We're going to now move into the journey of solutions. So we know who the inner child is. We know how to connect with this part of ourselves because we did our visualization. We understand the wounds that set us back and that we carry into our adult lives and how they manifest. How do we heal from this, right? All you have to do is take one step forward. One step forward. A real simple step into the healing that many people undermine, but it is a powerful tool, is affirming what you want and who you are. There is power in affirmations. So I'm going to advise you all, I'm inviting you all to get an affirmation journal for yourself. Just a journal book, something that you can write in. And you identify your wounds, you write those wounds down, and then you create affirmations that create a different story from that pain. Okay? So here's how affirmations work. Okay? The brain processes information immediately on the spot. So it takes everything we say and everything we think literally. So if you say to yourself, oh, I hate myself, I never get things right, I'm stupid, your brain is going to believe that. Just as much as if you say to yourself, I know that I have value and I'm here on this earth to bring this value to life. Or if you say to yourself, I am deeply loved, I am loving and lovable. I am loving and lovable. So that is an affirmation for yourself today. I am loved, loving, and lovable. Get your affirmation journal and begin writing away. Work with yourself with those kind and gentle words. So I'm going to move into an activity very quickly because the key to healing is to connect your inside self and your outside self. Who you are, what you show the world versus how you feel on the inside is very important. So what we're going to do with this activity is you're going to take 2 sheets of paper. One is for your inside person, how you feel often, and the other is for your outside person, what you show the world. The goal for our healing journey is to take those 2 and bring them together. You want to become true to yourself. Saying yes when you really mean no is not the way to go. Being nice when you're really feeling hurt, when all you have to do is use an I feel statement to resolve that hurt. And trust that you're going to be heard. That's all that it takes. So I am going to do the activity. So your inside self is how you feel on the inside. Each of you should have crayons, colored pencils, markers, or something to participate today in this activity. And so on one sheet of paper, you're going to draw who you are on the inside. How do you feel often? Who do you believe that you are? And then, so we're going to take a minute or so to do this activity. I'm going to be doing it with you. So my inside self. Okay. So I've created my inside self. Okay. Now on the other sheet of paper, you're going to create, who do you show? What do you show the world? How do you reflect yourself to others? What do you show others about yourself? So I'm going to do that right now. Okay? Okay. So you all probably have had enough time to complete these. And after you complete them, I would like for you to pay attention to the difference. Look at so a little bit of a transparent moment. Before I walked into my healing journey and I became aware of my own inner child, I was on autopilot. And what was happening is my inside self felt a lot of joy, a lot of courage, a lot of strength, a lot of power. I knew that I was a deeply spiritual person. You know, I knew that I had a lot of abilities, intuition, but I was afraid. So my outside self looked like this. I was afraid. I had a lot of doubt. I was anxious to please. I was uncertain. What you all are experiencing in my presentation today is the Keachia in her healing wellness journey. It wasn't until I began to do the work that this joy and courage and strength and power was able to come out. It was an inside out job. I had to transform negative narratives that I experienced in the outer world to become this full, and I'm still on this journey. There's so much more to be done, but this activity will help you to come together, to understand that we have to bring them together and allow our true selves to shine. So I hope you found support in that activity to get closer to yourself and to see the parts of yourself. We're going to be wrapping up now. And so I want to close with some healing modalities and some ways that you can bring healing into your own life. Because the beauty about healing is you are your own healer. You have the ability to bring healing to yourself by learning, by experimenting, by trying different things. Okay, so I'll start with the power of crystals. Crystals are an amazing healing modality. All you have to do is plant the intention into the crystal for yourself. So one of my favorite healing crystals is tiger's eye. I don't know if you all can see it. And this tiger's eye helps to bring courage into your life. So you just have to emit the energy of strength and courage into your crystal when you purchase your tiger's eye, and hold it, meditate with it, have it with you. It'll support you in your journey to become more courageous. I have quite a few, but let's see. Oh, this one is my favorite. It was gifted to me by a beloved friend and community, labradorite. Labradorite. This crystal is strictly for emotional healing and wellness. Labradorite. Okay, I don't have too much time, or else I would share all my crystals, but selenite, I love selenite. It makes me feel like I have this beautiful beam of light that's just flowing through my body. And so I can't do anything without selenite usually. Clear quartz as well. Okay, I have a bunch of crystals. I could sit here all day and talk about crystals. So today I have a selenite one and I have a sunstone one. And I'm going to use them because we're going to close with brief Reiki healing. And so Reiki is another healing modality that I wanted to talk about. It's energy healing. It's connecting with universal life force energy, allowing it to flow through your body and allowing you to give the healing to yourself. Okay? Just by tapping with your own internal energy. With your hands. Simple. I'm going to do Reiki for you all before we go. Then lastly, okay, so yoga and meditation. Two powerful tools. Centers you, gets you close to your own inner thoughts, and allows you to take a break because we have like 60,000 thoughts every day. Can you imagine some of those thoughts that come from past narratives and they're replaying over and over? When we meditate, we give our minds a chance to sit and relax. So yoga, meditation, deep breathing, the guided visualization that I did earlier. I want to share a few books that have brought, so earlier I talked about Journey to the Heart by Melody Beattie. She writes amazing books. This one, Codependent No More. These two are amazing. So I don't have a lot of time, but I will say Dr. Joe Dispenza, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. He teaches about neuroplasticity. So how you can take your brain and make it the brain that you want. So you can stop procrastinating. You can stop being late. You can stop lying to yourself that you're a horrible person. Stockholm Syndrome, all of that. This book is amazing. Will I Ever Be Good Enough by Dr. Kirill McBride. If you are healing from childhood trauma because of a parent, this book will save your life and transform everything for you. And then lastly, 365 ways to raise your frequency. We are pure energy. And when we connect to source, we can raise our frequency. We have that power. This book helps. 365 Ways to Raise Your Frequency by Melissa Alvarez. So I thank you. It has been a beautiful time. I would like to close with a small Reiki treatment for you all. So let us reflect on our wellness journey and the seeds that we're planting during this Kwanzaa season and what fruit we're going to harvest in the spring. What are we going to get? I am ready to move into my wellness journey with each of you. I invite you all to get started if you haven't already. I thank you for sharing time with me. And I'm going to go ahead and do some Reiki healing for us to take us out. All right? So sit comfortably, get relaxed, and enjoy the healing that I'm sending to each of you.